Greetings, everyone. I'm Jed Shlackman. I work as a holistic counselor as well as a hypnotherapist and energy healer. And for this video, I want to speak a little bit about the topic of communication, constructive communication, and how that relates to the development of our consciousness. And what I want to focus on here is the idea that if we want to have more constructive conversations or communication, we would need to listen more with the intent to understand than to be speaking with an intention to convince or condemn. What often occurs when we're in some type of conversation or communication is that we have a desire to influence or control the other person. We have this strong need to express or assert what we're thinking or what we're feeling. And since that energy is focused more for ourselves, then it's hard for us to be more present and open and curious to understand what the other person has in their consciousness, what they're expressing, how they perceive reality or the world. So we end up not fully hearing or understanding what they're sharing because we're so focused on trying to assert or express what we feel we need to share. It's not easy to find that balance there. Certainly, we all need to express ourselves to assert what's important to us from our perspective, whatever our needs are, etc. But to effectively do that, we actually need to be able to relate to the person that we're communicating with. So we might be talking on completely different wavelengths sometimes, and we're trying to express one thing that relates to how we perceive reality, and they're trying to express something else from how they're perceiving reality, and there's no connection there in between. We're not able to understand them, they're not able to understand us, because neither person is actually tailoring their communication to connect to the other person's reference point or point of view. So if you want the communication to be more constructive, you'll need to be able to express things in a way that the other person can somehow grasp or relate to. Let's say you are trying to teach about geometry and the other person comes from a reference point of algebra. So you both think you're teaching about math, but they're completely different forms of math. It's like different languages. So you're communicating about your form of math and the other person communicating about their form of math, and you haven't created a connecting language that can bring both into the conversation together in a way that they can be understood relative to one another, then you're not really going to have much constructive conversation there. You'll leave that discussion with the other person not really understanding much about what you are sharing, and you're not really understanding much about what they were sharing. So this happens with many things in life where we bring our own language or our own perspective into a conversation, and we're not tuning into what the other person's language per se is or what their reference point is, and we don't have a constructive dialogue. We just end up caught up in this effort to somehow convince someone of something without providing the prerequisites for them to even begin to understand or embrace what we're trying to convince them of. So one practice that's helpful is to be more of a listener when you go into a conversation. If you notice that you're the one who tends to talk a lot, some of us tend to be more of the opposite, where we're actually listening a lot and not talking or expressing ourselves much, so we can look for where the balance is and find more of a balance in any conversation we're engaged in. We could also have the intention to be curious, to bring into the situation what you could call a beginner's mind, so not making any assumptions, not presuming to know what the other person thinks or believes, or what their past experiences are, or anything like that, to just be present to hear what they wish to express. So having that openness and curiosity, and having a certain amount of patience, where you don't have to rush to put your 2 cents in or share your view. You can first listen and understand more of what the other person is sharing before you bring your piece into the conversation. I hope that those suggestions are helpful. For anyone looking for additional resources for personal growth or holistic health, I invite you to visit my website, which is phinsights.com. That's phinsights.com. For now, I wish everyone a wonderful day. Namaste.